I'm looking at two of the five superpowers that George Mumford laid out. I was actually really excited when Jason chose this video for us to watch because I've been doing a lot of reading about Phil Jackson and the Zen practices that he applies to the teams that he's coached. And I know that George Mumford is someone he worked really closely with. So I actually have picked up a copy of this book. Thanks to Jason's recommendation, because this has been something I've been trying to apply to my life outside of basketball, but also to basketball. And I'm really excited to read this book when I finish my other one. You guys know that I like to read a lot, so there you have it. The two that I would like to talk a little bit more about are the first one, stimulus response, and then also self-efficacy. I think that the stimulus response superpower is a really cool one because so often it's really tempting for us to just react to something that happens. And in the video, Brian Johnson, I think was his name, he discussed stretching that time out between the stimulus and your response and making it more of a response rather than a reaction. So I think that often we interchange those two words, reaction and response, but really reaction is a lot more immediate and can sometimes have detrimental consequences, whereas a response is something where you've actually taken the time to observe and analyze, and you've figured out how you want your response to come about. So I want to apply this to myself in basketball situations, and I think that the more you practice it, the more you can create a response with a little bit less time. So by that I mean, like, in basketball you're not always going to have the time to think like, oh, how do I want to react to this? But I think that if you take in this mindfulness practice, you can turn your reactions into a response, if that makes sense. So instead of having to take a really long time, you've just become so well adjusted to analyzing your situation that you don't react out of instinct. You react out of analyzing, and you become quicker at that. So, for example, in basketball, I think I would like to be better at defense. I think that's something I've taken on as a weakness of mine, and I would like to improve. And I think that I can apply this directly to that because I want to analyze how my check is playing and how I'm going to force them to play, and then I'm going to respond accordingly rather than reacting too late. I'm gonna respond. So I hope that makes sense. It kind of makes sense in my head, but if it doesn't, please ask me and I'll try and explain it a little better. The second concept that I wanted to talk about was self-efficacy. I've done a lot of reading into how this is a little bit more in depth than self-confidence because it relates to your connection with your true self and having confidence. Yeah, so there is that word, but having confidence and faith in your abilities that you can achieve what you want to do. And I think I've never been someone to struggle with self-confidence, but I think that self-efficacy is a little bit different because it's really becoming in tune with who you are and knowing that that's the person that you want to be. And maybe if it's not, finding ways that you can change it. So I think that self-efficacy can really relate to who I want to be as a basketball player because I can find ways to take the values of my life and apply those to my basketball persona. I think I kind of get a little bit lost when I try and talk about this, and I worry that it doesn't make sense to other people. But I think when we look at self-efficacy, we're looking at your belief in yourself. And I think that I sometimes doubt myself and I overanalyze situations. So I'm trying to become better at having confidence in my abilities and in who I am. So yeah, those are the mindfulness practices that I am looking to bring to basketball next year.